Let's just cut across to a meeting between Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Indian Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar.
Partnership, especially at a time of so much challenge. I'm grateful for India's leadership on so many issues, including the thing that is literally plaguing the world, and that's COVID-19. So I will have an opportunity to talk about that, as well as many both shared concerns and also some opportunities in this region as a whole. So I'm very pleased for the opportunity for us to see each other, and looking forward to getting together with our colleagues as well in a couple of hours.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Good to see you, and good to see you all. I agree with you. I think the Quad, we've progressed a lot, and much of that is due to the fact that we've all devoted a lot of time, energy, attention to that. We have made it into concrete, actionable propositions, which our teams have worked on. And as I said downstairs with the Prime Minister, this is an occasion to look at it. But at the same time, a big part of that is because we have such strong bilateral relationships. Certainly for us in this century, the changing India-US relationship has really been a very defining development. So I welcome the chance today to sit with you and look at our relationship and see how we can continue to take it forward in its positive trajectory. So good to see you again.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
That is the meet between Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Dr. S. Jaishankar, Indian Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The key Quad meet is today in Australia to strengthen the ties between the Quad nations, that is the United States, Australia, Japan and India. Ahead of the meeting, Indian External Affairs Minister is meeting U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. They're discussing the India-United States bilateral ties ahead of the Quad meeting. This is a meeting that is taking place in Australia currently ahead of the Quad meeting. Issues such as countering China's aggression, growing assertiveness are going to be on top of the agenda today. This is ahead of the Quad meeting in right now, currently in Australia. The Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Secretary of State Antony Blinken are holding a meet right now. And for more on this, our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, is joining us live right now. Siddhant, thank you for joining us. The meet is currently underway in Australia between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in Australia ahead of the Quad meeting. What can you tell us about the agenda?
Well, this is the first in-person meeting between the Indian External Affairs Minister and the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. They have been in touch with each other on a regular basis. Telephonic conversation has been something that has been part of the normal conversation between the two. But of course, this in-person meeting provides ample of opportunity to talk about issues of convergences, like when it comes to COVID vaccines, when it comes to the Chinese aggressiveness in the Indo-Pacific, or when it comes to dealing with issues like climate change. We know that both India and the United States have been focusing on how to cooperate with each other and like-minded countries in the Indo-Pacific region. And today is an important day in Melbourne because we know that Quad foreign ministers are due to meet in about 1 hour's time. And this will be an opportunity that will help elevate the Quad grouping into other areas. They are already cooperating in space, infrastructure, in climate change, in educational field. We know that one of the key outcomes of last year's summit was the scholarships which will be given when it comes to the Quad countries. But largely, today's meeting between the two, between EM and the US Secretary of State will also focus on making sure that when it comes to rules-based order that is being challenged by Beijing in the region is thwarted. Both India and the United States have seen the aggressive Chinese behavior. I do also expect the American side to brief the Indian side about the crisis in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine.
Right.
So that is something that has been dominating the headlines. We know both Washington and Moscow have been regularly briefing the Indian side about the crisis in Eastern Europe. India, of course, has good relationship with both countries, and of course, choosing between two friends is always difficult. But India has called for dialogue to resolve the situation, and of course, called for de-escalation in that part of the world.
Right, absolutely. Now, like you mentioned, the Indo-Pacific, of course, remains a big challenge. But what are the Quad nations this time hoping to achieve by meeting?
Well, Quad has been regularized. We know that Quad was a grouping that many thought or said that it can never happen at the summit level. Last year saw two summits, one virtual summit, one in-person meeting. But now, of course, today's meeting will be significant. First, for, of course, the joint press conference, because rarely that the foreign ministers of all four countries have stood together and given a press conference. So there will be questions, there will be answers. So this will be a very important press conference in every terms possible. It starts at around 1 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Then, of course, the joint statement. Now, look, in the world is changing very fast. In every 6 months, there is a drastic change. Ukraine was not even in the radar of geopolitics, and suddenly it's the biggest crisis the world is facing. So the joint statement will be important in terms of what all these four countries, including India, is agreeing to when it comes to Ukraine. Will there be a condemnation by all these four countries on Ukraine against Russia? Because India will not be keen on that. Myanmar is another focus area. Afghanistan, because there have been calls by some countries that there should be recognition. But of course, the West and of course countries like India are staying away from any recognition being given to the regime in Kabul.
Right, absolutely. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us with all your inputs on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.